position of the Indian subcontinent in the world. If we talk about the time period between the 1st and the 7th centuries, India was the largest economy of the ancient and the medieval world, and it controlled about 1/3. Can you imagine? 1/3 and 1/4. 1/3 to 1/4 of the whole world's wealth. India was having that. And that is the reason. That is the reason why India was referred as the Swaran Bhumi or Swaran Deep by many travelers. Many travelers during the ancient period, they came to India, and when they saw this diversity, this uniqueness of India, they wrote in their travel history or their travel diaries that India is actually very wealthy, India is actually one of the largest economy, and therefore they provided with this title, the title of Swaran Bhumi and Swaran Deep. Okay? Now understand that in the pre-colonial period of the Indian history, that was also pretty good age. Good age as in it was the age of prosperity of the Indian economy. So I am underlining over here, the pre-colonial period was the age of prosperity. Okay. Next, despite growth of the commercial sector in India, now we are coming to the fact that though India was the largest economy once a time, and despite of its growing into the commercial sectors in a very speedy way, it was somewhere, we don't know how, behind the Western Europe. How behind the Western Europe? In terms of technology and in terms of idea. This Western Europe, they actually had very innovative techniques, very high-end techniques, which they used in their activities. Now, you can consider many reasons behind it. India was under the control of the East India Company, so there was a lack of freedom. Moreover, you can say that during that time, there was no agricultural or scientific revolution happening in India. Okay. Plus, the passing of education was also very limited. India was not in a position or not in the reach of giving education to its masses. Mass people were illiterate. Okay, so this made India a country which was prosperous, no doubt in that. It was prosperous, it was wealthy, but the people were poor. Okay, after that what happened? See, the British Empire began to capture India when in the mid-18th century. British Empire, or you can say the East India Company. Okay, so what did this East India Company do? This East India Company, they were so smart, they used the revenues generated by our state or the provinces of those times. Whatever revenue or whatever income they earned, they used to capture it. Okay, so what happened as a result? This changed India, or rather India's economy, from the exporter of processed goods to the exporter of raw materials. Now understand, this is important. What did the Britishers do? They took money from the Indian provinces, from the Indian states, and this money of India was used for purchasing goods of India. Again, one example I give you. Suppose you had 5 chocolates. You sold 2 to your mother. She gave you 50 rupees, right? Then you had 3 remaining and 50 rupees with you. Suppose your elder brother or sister came. You would sell 2 of your chocolates to him or her also at 50 rupees. But what did your elder brother or sister did? He or she took the 50 rupees that you earned by selling those chocolates to your mother. He took it from you, and that same money he is using to purchase your chocolates. So by this, are you earning anything new? No, you are not earning anything new. Plus, the earnings which you had before, that is also gone. Isn't it? Chocolates are also gone. Same thing was done by the Britishers. They took money from the Indian provinces, and the same money they used for purchasing the raw materials from India and other things from India. As a result, the foreign currency which was supposed to enter India, the British currency which was supposed to enter India, that was not coming. And the raw materials were also being sold from India. The India was having a deficit of raw materials because all the raw materials and everything is being purchased by the Britishers. Understood this or not? So, as because India is having no more of raw materials, so from exporter of processed goods, he became the exporter of raw materials. That means earlier India used to sell processed goods. Just imagine, India used to sell processed goods, proper finished goods. But the condition of India deteriorated to such a level that it had to export raw materials. And he became a buyer of manufactured goods. Clear or not? Okay. Now comes the concept about reindustrialization. Reindustrialization means after independence, after getting freedom, the India's economy was rebuilding itself. Okay, because after the invasion of Britishers, after the invasion of the East India Company, the economy of India was destroyed totally. So when India gained independence, its first motive was how to bring back India's economy into proper terms. So then it started with the process of reindustrialization or the process of rebuilding of the economy. The first 5-year plan. Okay, what are 5-year plans? The 5-year plans are the targets, you may say, made by the government that in the next 5 years what developments are we supposed to do. So that first 5-year plan was implemented in which year? It was implemented in 1952. Okay, India was independent in the year 1947 and the first 5-year plan was implemented in 1952. And what was most important in this plan? In this plan, the industrialists or the economists, they wanted to give more preference in development or in establishment of the modern technological and scientific institutions. Okay, scientific institutions as in some space and nuclear research programs can be taken up there, right? So they had this thing in their mind that in this 5-year plan of 1952, most importance would be given to development of scientific institutions and modern technological institutions. Clear? But the problem was that, see, it is like a story, so I am explaining to you. But the problem that India faced, that they could not develop at a rapid speed. Why? Because it did not have a lot of capital with it. Capital is also required. Now, when you want to do a development, when you want to build something, you need capital, you need money. So that money was not there with India properly. Moreover, there was continuous rise in population. Huge expenses were made on the defense. Okay, so whatever money it had, that was spent on population, that was spent on defense, and very less money was left for this modernization or development of the scientific institutions. Clear? As a result, what do you think? Will India be able to work with this less money? No. it had just one option left. What was the one option? It started borrowing from the foreign sources. Okay, it started borrowing from the foreign sources, and therefore it agreed to the policy of liberalization. In which year? In the year 1991. As of now, India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. There is rise in income, rise in savings, investment opportunities have increased, the GDP of India has increased. Okay, there are some sectors like the textile industry or the IT industry. These sectors have been identified as the growth sectors. Growth sectors means these sectors will flourish very well in the upcoming years. So like that, some sectors have been identified, and these sectors will grow at a very rapid speed, will flourish very high. Some of the recent initiatives like the Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, these are also expected to help the Indian economy. Okay, but this present situation, the situation of this lockdown because of COVID-19, from my point of view or from everyone else's point of view, this is very sure that it will put a major break on the world economy. The world will be just stopped by it. The pace, the speed at which it was growing, this COVID-19 will definitely put a speed breaker to it, right? So these all Make in India, Skill in India, Digital India, whatever benefits it were expected to bring to the Indian economy, it will be no longer helpful. Rather, this part you are not supposed to put in your answers, but as a commerce students, we should know what is going in and around us. The pace or the growth which Indian economy was seeing, it will decrease, and that also very high. At a very high speed it will decrease. Never mind, that was all about the discussion for this topic, that is position of Indian subcontinent in the world. This was the last lecture for chapter number 1. We will be beginning chapter number 2, that is forms of business organizations, in our next lecture.